If you have a SparkHire one-way video interview coming up, the first thing to understand is this. The format can feel awkward, but it is absolutely beatable. Most candidates do not struggle because they are unqualified. They struggle because they are not used to speaking clearly, confidently, and naturally into a camera with a timer running and no interviewer reacting in real time. That is what this video is here to fix. In the next several minutes, I am going to walk you through what a SparkHire one-way interview actually is, what the experience usually looks like from start to finish, how to prepare in a smart way, how to answer questions without sounding robotic, what mistakes hurt candidates the most, and what to do right before you press record. By the end, you should feel much less confused, much more in control, and a lot more ready to perform well. Let us start with the basics. What a SparkHire one-way interview is. A SparkHire one-way interview is an asynchronous video interview. That simply means you are not speaking live with a recruiter or hiring manager. Instead, you receive an invitation, open the interview on your own time before the deadline, and record answers to questions one by one. The employer watches your answers later. That is the first mental shift to make. This is not a Zoom call. It is not a normal face-to-face interview, and it is not something you should approach casually just because you are doing it alone. You are still being evaluated, just in a different format. The company is usually using this step to screen candidates earlier and faster. They want to hear how you communicate, how clearly you explain yourself, how you come across on camera, whether your answers are relevant, and whether you seem prepared and serious. The good news is that this format also gives you some advantages. You are not dealing with the pressure of a live interviewer interrupting you. You do not need to coordinate schedules. You can usually complete the interview before the deadline at a time that works for you. And depending on the company settings, you may get think time before recording and sometimes more than one take for a question. So yes, it can feel weird, but it also gives you structure. And structure helps prepared candidates. What the SparkHire experience usually looks like. Now let us talk about what you can generally expect on SparkHire. You normally receive an email invitation with a link to the interview. When you open it, you will usually see details like the role, the deadline, and often the number of questions. Entering the invite does not necessarily mean the interview begins immediately. SparkHire typically takes you through a short setup process first. That setup matters. Do not rush through it. You may see a welcome screen and sometimes an intro from the company. You may also be asked to confirm your email and review instructions or expectations before moving forward. Then you will test your camera, microphone, and connection. SparkHire also gives candidates a chance to record a practice video before the real interview starts. Use that practice properly. Do not treat the practice recording like a formality. It is your free rehearsal. Use it to check your lighting, your framing, your audio, your pace, and your facial expression. A lot of candidates waste the best part of the platform, which is the ability to see how they actually come across before the real answers count. Once the interview starts, questions are shown one at a time. For each question, the company can set rules like how much think time you get, how many takes you get, and how long your response can be. Some questions may start recording automatically after the think timer ends. Others may let you start recording when you are ready. After you record, you may be able to review your answer and then submit it. If the employer allows retakes, you may also see the option to record again. This is why you need to read the instructions on every question screen carefully. Do not assume every question works the same way. Also, one important point. In SparkHire, you generally cannot view all the questions in advance. You see them during the interview, one by one. And once you move on from an answer, you usually cannot go back to previous questions. That means your preparation should focus less on memorizing exact answers and more on being able to speak well under a structured format. How to think about the goal. Here is where many people get it wrong. They think the goal is to sound perfect. It is not. The goal is to sound clear, relevant, professional, and genuine. Most employers are not expecting a polished influencer video. They are looking for someone who can answer the question, structure a response, communicate with basic confidence, and represent themselves well. So stop chasing perfection. Start chasing control. Control means understanding the format, having a setup that does not sabotage you, knowing how to structure common answers, and practicing enough that you do not freeze when the timer starts. That alone already puts you ahead of a lot of candidates. How to prepare before interview day. Preparation for a one-way interview is not complicated, but it does need to be deliberate. First, research the role and the company. That sounds obvious, but many candidates skip it because there is no live interviewer in front of them. Big mistake. A one-way interview is still an interview. You should understand what the company does, what the role seems to prioritize, and what themes are likely to come up. Second, prepare your core stories. You do not need to script every answer word for word. In fact, doing that often makes people sound stiff and fake. What you do need are a handful of strong examples from your experience that you can adapt to different questions. Prepare stories for a time you solved a problem, a time you worked in a team, a time you handled pressure, a challenge or failure and what you learned, a situation where you showed initiative, and a reason you are interested in the role or company. These are the building blocks of a strong interview. Third, practice speaking out loud on camera, not in your head, out loud. There is a huge difference between knowing what you want to say and being able to say it smoothly into a webcam. Record yourself answering common interview questions in 1 to 2 minute responses, then watch yourself back. You will probably notice one or two things immediately. Maybe you speak too fast, maybe you ramble, maybe your energy drops, maybe you avoid eye contact with the camera. Good. Better to notice that in practice than in the real interview. Fourth, prepare your environment. Choose a quiet place. Use a clean, non-distracting background. Make sure your face is clearly visible. Use stable internet. Charge your device. Close Zoom, Teams, or any other app that could interfere with your camera or microphone. And wear something that looks appropriate for the role. Do not overcomplicate the visual side. You do not need a studio. You need a setup that feels professional, calm, and reliable. Technical setup that actually matters. Let me be direct here. Technical mistakes are some of the dumbest ways to hurt your performance, because most of them are preventable. SparkHire recommends using Google Chrome on a computer. On mobile, Chrome on Android, and Safari on iOS are recommended. On Windows or Mac, Chrome is the safest default. For one-way interviews, Firefox support has also been documented, but Chrome is still the smart choice when possible. Desktop is usually better than mobile because it is more stable, easier to frame properly, and less likely to create avoidable issues. SparkHire also recommends using headphones to reduce echo and improve audio quality. That matters more than people think. A slightly imperfect camera is usually acceptable. Bad audio is much more damaging. Check your internet too. SparkHire's support documentation says a strong connection is best, with good upload and download speeds and low latency. You do not need to become a network engineer. Just do not gamble with weak Wi-Fi from a crowded cafe 5 minutes before your interview. And remember this, SparkHire does not support virtual or blurred backgrounds at this time, so pick a real background that looks simple and tidy. Again, this is not about perfection. It is about removing avoidable friction.
How to answer questions well. Now let us get into the part that matters most, your answers. A strong one-way interview answer usually does 4 things. It answers the actual question. It is structured. It stays concise. And it sounds human. Let us break that down. First, answer the actual question. This sounds basic, but candidates often hear a familiar keyword and then launch into a memorized answer that only sort of fits. That is dangerous in one-way interviews because there is no interviewer there to redirect you or ask follow-up questions. Listen carefully, read carefully, identify exactly what is being asked. Second, structure your answer. One of the easiest frameworks for behavioral questions is STAR. Situation, task, action, result. You do not have to say those words out loud, but your answer should follow that logic. Set the scene briefly, explain what needed to happen, describe what you did, and then explain the outcome. End with what changed, what improved, or what you learned. For questions like, tell me about yourself, a different structure works better. Present, past, future, who you are now, what background brought you here, and why this opportunity makes sense as your next step. For motivation questions like, why this role? Keep it simple. Why this company? Why this role? Why you? Third, stay concise. One-way interviews punish rambling. When people do not get live feedback, they often keep talking because silence feels uncomfortable. But long answers are not automatically better. Usually they are worse. A tight, focused answer feels more confident than a messy, overlong one. Fourth, sound human. The best answers do not sound memorized. They sound prepared but natural. That means full sentences, clear ideas, and normal energy. Not flat, not theatrical, just engaged and credible. What to do during think time? Think time is not extra time to panic. It is time to build a simple structure. When you see a question, do not instantly chase the perfect wording. Use the think time to decide 3 things. What is my main point? What example or angle will I use? And how will I end clearly? That is enough. You do not need to script your answer sentence by sentence. In fact, that often backfires because the second you forget one line, your brain stalls. Instead, build a mini roadmap. For example, if the question is, tell me about a time you handled conflict in a team, your roadmap might be, brief context, what the disagreement was, what I did to resolve it, what the result was, what I learned. That is far more useful than trying to memorize perfect lines under pressure. Common SparkHire style questions and how to approach them. Let us go through a few common categories. 1. Tell me about yourself. Do not start with your life story. Give a focused professional summary. Who you are, what you have been doing, what strengths or experiences are most relevant here, and why this role is a logical next step. 2. Why do you want this role? Or, why do you want to work here? This is where lazy answers die, because it seems like a great opportunity is weak. Tie your answer to something real, the company's work, the role responsibilities, the skills you want to use, and the kind of environment you want to grow in. 3. Behavioral questions. These usually start with, tell me about a time when. That is where STAR is your friend. One concrete example is better than 3 vague ones. 4. Strengths and weaknesses. For strengths, choose something relevant and back it up with evidence. For weaknesses, pick something real but manageable, then explain what you are doing about it. Do not give a fake weakness dressed up as a strength. 5. Pressure or problem-solving questions. Employers want to hear how you think, not just whether everything ended perfectly. Show your decision-making process. Show calm. Show ownership. The biggest mistakes candidates make. Now let us cover the mistakes that keep showing up. Mistake number 1. Over-memorizing. Candidates write scripts, try to recite them exactly, and the result sounds stiff. Then the moment the question is phrased differently than expected, they freeze. Mistake number 2. Under-preparing because it is just a recorded interview. That mindset kills performance. One-way interviews are often used to filter a lot of candidates quickly. This stage matters. Mistake number 3. Terrible pacing. Some people rush because they are nervous. Others speak too slowly and fill time with filler words. Your goal is steady, clear, deliberate speech. Mistake number 4. Ignoring body language. Even though this is asynchronous, you are still on camera. Sit upright. Look into the camera often, not only at your own image. Keep your face engaged. Do not stare like a statue, but do not fidget constantly either. Mistake number 5. Giving generic answers. Generic answers are forgettable. You need enough specificity that the employer can actually picture you in the situation you describe. Mistake number 6. Wasting retakes. If you get multiple takes, do not use them all automatically. One retake can help if you genuinely had a weak attempt, but endless retakes can drain your energy and make you worse. Aim for strong, not mythical perfection. Mistake number 7. Skipping practice. This is one of the biggest own goals in modern hiring. Candidates know a one-way video interview is coming and still do no timed camera practice. Then they are shocked when they feel awkward on the day. Practice is not optional here. It is the difference between hoping and controlling. How to look more confident on camera. Confidence on camera is not magic. It is mostly mechanics. Start with posture. Sit or stand upright. Keep your head level. Frame yourself so your head and upper torso are visible. Place the camera at about eye level. Make sure light is in front of you, not behind you. Then focus on delivery. Take a breath before you start. Begin a little slower than feels natural. Pause briefly between ideas. And finish your answers cleanly instead of fading out. One simple trick. Imagine you are explaining something clearly to one intelligent person, not performing for an invisible crowd. That immediately makes your delivery more natural. Also, do not obsess over tiny imperfections. A minor pause, a normal blink, or a small reset is fine. Human is fine. Flustered and chaotic is the problem. How to use practice the right way. Let me give you a smart practice method. Take 5 common interview questions. Set a realistic response time, like 1 or 2 minutes. Give yourself brief think time. Record your answer. Watch it back. Then identify only 3 things. What worked, what felt weak, and what you will change next time. Do not try to fix 20 things at once. That just creates noise. Usually the biggest improvements come from very simple corrections. Cut the first 10 seconds of rambling. Use clearer structure. Speak slightly slower. Finish with a result. Or make your example more specific. A few focused practice rounds can change your performance a lot more than reading 50 interview tips online. What to do right before you start the real interview. On the day of the interview, do not jump in cold. Open the link early. Check the deadline. Make sure your browser is updated. Test your camera and mic. Silence notifications. Close extra tabs and apps. Have water nearby. Review your main story examples. And then stop cramming. Right before you begin, remind yourself of the actual objective. Clear answers, relevant examples, calm delivery. Not perfection. Not zero nerves. Just control. Then, when the question appears, read it carefully, use the think time properly, and answer the question in front of you, not the one you wish had been asked. Final encouragement in closing. Let me end with this. A SparkHire one-way interview can absolutely feel unnatural the first time. That is normal. But awkward does not mean impossible, and unfamiliar does not mean unfair. It just means the format rewards candidates who prepare for the format. That is the key point. Do not prepare only for interview content. Prepare for interview mechanics. Know how the platform works. Test your setup. Practice on camera. Build strong examples. Use structure. Stay concise. And bring steady, professional energy to each answer. That is how you stop the interview from happening to you and start taking control of it. And remember, employers are not looking for a perfect actor. They are looking for a candidate who communicates clearly, understands the opportunity, and presents themselves with enough confidence and self-awareness to move forward. That can absolutely be you. To practice before the real thing, use SparkHire style question drills, timed recordings, and realistic one-way interview simulations so you do not walk into the platform cold. Repetition matters. Familiarity matters. And in this format, even a few solid practice sessions can make a visible difference. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your SparkHire interview.
Getting hired is harder than ever. CandidateFalcon.com. The exact hiring assessment you're about to face.